Welcome to the Manager Lab, where we delve into the increasingly dynamic world of talent management. In each episode, we will unravel key insights, break down the most relevant books and articles, and provide actionable tips to optimize your approach in developing and retaining top talent. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the art, science, and strategy of unlocking your team's full potential. Let's enter the Manager Lab. Well, welcome back to the Manager Lab. Let me start with a question that might feel a little uncomfortable, at least it is for me. Can a leader be too nice? In the past, I've been given this feedback that I can be too nice as a manager, as a leader, that I don't give critical enough feedback sometimes. Most of us were taught that good leaders are supportive, empathetic, and kind. And that's true. But according to a powerful Harvard Business Review article entitled, "Is Your Leadership Style Too Nice?" being overly nice can actually hold your team back, undermine performance, and quietly erode trust. So this is a good introspective article for me today as well. So today we're going to unpack what too nice leadership really looks like, why it's so common, and most importantly, how managers can strike the right balance between care and accountability. All right, so the authors describe too nice leaders as well-intentioned managers who simply are trying to avoid discomfort. These leaders often hesitate to give tough feedback. They lower standards to avoid conflict. They say yes when they should say no. And they soften messages to the point that clarity is lost. At first glance, this approach feels humane almost. You don't want to hurt feelings. You want to be liked. You want harmony. But here's the paradox. When leaders avoid hard conversations, they create more anxiety, not less. Employees are surprisingly perceptive. When expectations aren't clear or feedback is watered down, people are left guessing, am I doing well or not? What really matters here? Why does poor performance seem to be tolerated? And over time, high performers disengage, low performers don't improve, and trust erodes. Not because leaders were mean, but because they weren't honest. Ouch. Why leaders fall into the too nice trap. So why does this happen so often? The article highlighted three common drivers. One, fear of being disliked. Many managers equate leadership with popularity. They worry that direct feedback will damage relationships. But research consistently shows that respect, not likability, is the foundation of trust. Number two, misunderstanding empathy. Empathy doesn't mean protecting people from discomfort. It means caring enough to tell the truth so that they can grow. And then finally, conflict avoidance. And this might be where I've been criticized in the past. Some leaders tell themselves, now's not the right time, or it's not that big a deal. Those small delays accumulate into bigger problems. The irony here is that employees often interpret avoidance as indifference rather than kindness. All right, well, let's talk about the real cost of being too nice. Let's talk about the impact. When leaders are too nice, performance standards drift downward. Accountability becomes inconsistent. Team resentment builds when poor performance goes unaddressed. And managers end up carrying extra work to compensate for it all. Perhaps most damaging, people lose confidence in leadership. Teams want fairness, clarity, and direction. They don't want ambiguity disguised as kindness. As the authors note here, kindness without clarity is not kind at all. So what effective leaders do differently? The article makes a critical distinction here. The goal is not to be less kind, it's to be clear and courageous. Here's what effective leaders do instead. They combine care with candor. They show genuine concern and speak plainly about expectations and gaps. The actionable tip here is that before a feedback conversation, ask yourself, what would be most helpful for this person to hear right now? Not what's most comfortable, but what's most useful. 2, managers normalize discomfort. Strong leaders accept that discomfort is part of growth. They don't rush to relieve tension. So the tip here is that after delivering tough feedback, just pause. Let silence do some work. Don't immediately soften the message or over explain. 3, good leaders here set clear standards and they hold them. Being nice often shows up as moving the goalposts. Strong leaders don't do that. The tip here is to make expectations explicit. What does good look like? What does not acceptable look like? What will happen if performance doesn't change? Clarity reduces anxiety more than reassurance ever will. And 4th, great managers address issues early. Too nice leaders wait until problems are big. Effective leaders intervene when issues are small. So the tip here is to adopt the mindset that sooner is kinder. A 5-minute course correction today prevents a painful conversation later. So the key takeaways for managers that you can apply immediately are these. Niceness is not the same as kindness. Kindness includes honesty, accountability, and respect for people's ability to grow. Avoiding hard conversations erodes trust. Employees would rather hear the truth than be left guessing. Number 3, care and accountability are not opposites. They're partners. The best leaders deliver both at the same time. And 4th, discomfort is not a leadership failure. It's a leadership signal. If a conversation feels uncomfortable, it might be exactly the one you need to have. So here's your reflection question for the week. Where might being too nice be getting in the way of effective leading, effective managing? Leadership isn't about being harsh, but it's also not about being endlessly accommodating. It's about caring enough to be clear, courageous, and consistent. Well, thanks for listening. And until next time we meet in the Manager Lab, do good work.